أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بعد الحمم ولا يناله غوص الفطن ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين صاحب العصر والزمان خليفة الرحمن إمام الإنس والجان ولعن الله أعداهم أجمعين إلى يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Lessons from the life of Prophet Musa alayhi salam has been our ongoing topic. Tonight is lecture number 10. Last night we left off the story in now Musa and Harun alayhim salam are now on their way to Fir'aun's palace and about to now confront the man that has been the source of oppression in all of Egypt towards those who are from the Bani Israel. And if you recall from yesterday, Allah is now giving them himmat, some strength, some courage. Go with you. Innani ma'akuma, I'm with you. Don't worry. This is what you say. This is your approach. So let's get right into it. Musa and Harun enter the palace of Fir'aun. They request to speak to Fir'aun. They're granted that time. And Musa now walks into Fir'aun's office, chambers, whatever you want to call it. Okay? And he walks in, it's a palace, it's Fir'aun's palace. You can imagine now pillars that go up to the sky, right? The walls, of course, have rubies and gold, and from the distance, it's a very intimidating room. You walk in, on the other side of the room, there sits Fir'aun, surrounded by his advisors and men. Sitting on his throne, the throne, of course, is draped in jewels and rubies. He himself, gold and silver from top to bottom. And he figured that these are just two peasants from the Bani Israel, probably coming and complaining about something, so he didn't really give them much attention. Until now, Musa now is about to enter and he's about to begin, and then in Bahar, and I want to read this verbatim for you all tonight, okay? I really want you guys to understand what's being said here. There's almost as if there's a fear that God has that maybe he was, he was a little bit intimidated by this whole scene. So Bahar says that Allah whispered to his prophet. Now I want you to hear what he's whispering. This is God now talking to Nabi Musa. In Bahar now, volume 13, page 49. The source is right here in front of me. He says, do not let his garments instill fear in you, for his forelock is in my grasp. He is in my control. And don't be amazed by the trappings and luxury of this world with which we have been provided, meaning we're the ones that provided him. For if I had wanted, I could have adorned you with such trappings that upon seeing them, the Pharaoh would have ceded that all his power pales before it. Well, this is all this gold and diamonds that, don't be in awe of it. I could have given you something even more than that, to the point where Fir'aun will fall at your feet. Instead, he says, I steer you clear of all that, and I steer all that clear of you. Oh, it's so beautiful the way he talks to his prophet. This is how I treat my friends, Allah says. I steer them clear of this world's trappings, these world's delusions, like a shepherd steers his flock clear of any dangerous terrain. This is not to disparage you, but rather so that you may fully and soundly be availed of my true blessings to you. These things are not true blessings. The gold and the adornment and the zinat and all this that you see is not true blessings. He says, my friends, listen to this very carefully. Such a beautiful, profound line. God talking in Bahar. My friends adorn themselves, drape themselves, clothe themselves with humility, subservience, and fear, which springs from their hearts and becomes manifest upon their amal and deeds. These attributes constitute their medal and their mantle. This is who they are. This is what makes them so azim. Not the gold and the jewels and the rubies you see on Fir'aun's throne. No. The source of their salvation, their station, their greatness, and the very mark by which they are known. Moses, if you meet one of them, meaning one of my true servants, be humble and gracious with him, and soften your heart and tongue to him. And keep in mind, if anyone terrorizes my friends, meaning the ones that I have given to, then he has thereby declared war on me. And I shall avenge my friends on the day of resurrection. That's a beautiful, beautiful statement that I wanted to share with all of you verbatim. It's on a Quranic verse. It's in Bahar as a hadith. But now, of course, now he's walking towards Fir'aun. And God whispers this to him again, saying, don't be wowed by this palace or by the very clothes he's wearing. He himself is draped in jewels. And Musa now begins. That I come to you as a messenger from your Lord, okay? And he begins now to tell him that I am here to ask you to release the people of Israel, the Israelites, and let me take them with me. You can have your palace, but I want you to stop doing oppression onto these people. Now he has Fir'aun's attention. Fir'aun has no idea who it is. No idea, can't recognize Musa. But the more he hears his voice, it's almost as if Fir'aun looks up at him and says, is that you, Musa? He says, yes, it's me, Musa. And this Musa now is coming into his palace telling him to free yourself. Free yourself. If you reject what I'm saying to you, there will be punishment, there will be consequences. Right? This Lord of mine will not, this Lord of yours will not tolerate injustice and transgression. And Musa then goes on the offensive. Fir'aun goes on the offensive and says, that's you, Musa? Yes, it is. You have the gall, he says, to come into my palace and tell me that what I'm doing is wrong, to stop what I'm doing, to give you control of the Israelites? Aren't you the one that I raised? Aren't you the one that my wife gave tarbiyah to and nature to and nurture to when you had nothing? Weren't you the one that spent lavish lives inside the palace? Aren't you the one, he says, that killed that Egyptian, that heinous crime? And all of a sudden, what? You forgot all that now? You're being very ungrateful, he says to Musa. Musa then, of course, it does not back down, Musa. And it becomes a little bit heated. He says to Fir'aun that, look, that was a time I was different back then. I made a mistake. I didn't have the wisdom. I fled this city Egypt out of fear of you. This country Egypt out of fear of you. I went, and on the way back now, I was given wisdom. I was given prophethood by the Lord of this world. He goes, and on top of that, and then Musa now, all of a sudden, this courageous Musa now says, oh, you're telling me about what you've done? He goes, I ended up in your palace only because you did so much oppression on my mother and her like that she was forced to put me in a basket and I ended up at your door. So don't tell me about your favors. You can save that for yourself. There's no way that you can justify all the dhulm that you have. And Fir'aun's almost shocked. This is the same Musa that couldn't say a single word. Now he's going back and forth with me. So he quickly deters and he says, you talk about the Lord of the worlds? What is this concept of the Lord of the worlds? Rabbil Alameen. Remember, back then, the belief back then with Fir'aun and his like was that yes, they believed in a creator, a sublime being. But his job was to create. He would not get involved in the everyday operations. of the people. So while he's a sublime creator, there were multiple gods looking after very specific roles and tasks, right? The god of the river, the god of the moon, the god of power, the god of money, right? And the one that was the head of all those gods was Fir'aun. Okay? But the problem was that he had a certain jurisdiction, a certain limit within Egypt, right? If he was, let's say, for example, when Musa went to Madian, he was outside Fir'aun's jurisdiction. He couldn't do anything to Musa back then. So his godness was limited to Egypt. Along now comes Musa saying, no, there is a God of everybody. There's a God who created you. There's a God who guides you. That same God who created you, same God who guides you. And he's like, and then Pharaoh looks around his people, and some say 500. He was always surrounded by 500 people. His right-hand man was Haman. Haman is mentioned in the Quran several times. And Haman plays a key role in this whole story. Now Pharaoh looks at us, you can picture a guy sitting on his throne laughing. Look at this guy talking about the Lord of the world, one Lord of everything, that he's going to busy himself in day-to-day things like risk and forgiveness and mercy and oppression and this and that. What is this nonsense you're talking about? And then Musa continues. He goes on the offensive. He completely ignores that ridiculing comment. He says, the Lord of you is the same Lord of your forefathers. And if you refuse to believe in this Lord, there will be punishment, there will be consequences. And then Fir'aun asks him, you talk about my forefathers. They never believed in this Lord of the world. What is their punishment going to be, he says? What is their aqibat and their conclusion? And Musa says, only God knows this. Only the Lord knows this. I don't pretend to know what will happen to your forefathers. I'm here to give you an opportunity. You can keep the palace. Have all of this you want. Just free the people of Israel. Free the Bani Israel tribe. Okay? No matter what Fir'aun would throw at him, Musa had a stronger response right back to him. And with every response, it seemed like Musa was getting more and more confident. Okay. The very himmat, the very courage that God said, look, innani ma'akuma, I'm with you, go, don't be afraid, don't be distracted by the jewels. I just read it for you, right? Those are garments for them. I have garments of taqwa and humbleness for you, Musa. And then, almost as if he knew that he was losing control of the conversation now, Fir'aun resorts to his oppressive ways. If you believe in another God besides me, I will imprison you. I'll put you in jail. I'll torture you. That was his final argument with Musa. At that moment now, Musa realized that my words are having zero effect on Fir'aun. So what does he do? That's right. If you guessed right, you're absolutely correct. He pulls out his two miracles. That's when Allah now trained him at that moment in that mountain for this very moment. The first thing he pulls out is a staff. He says to Fir'aun, should I show you something? Let me show you the power of my Lord. Will you believe them? He says, go ahead. Show me what you can. Go ahead. Let's see what you got, basically. Musa grabs the staff, throws it on the ground. Becomes a serpent, starts to go here and there, here and there. Fir'aun freaks out, starts to be fearful. Everyone kind of flees. He's not even done getting over the staff becoming a serpent when Musa pulls out his right hand. It's glowing with nur and lights. With that hand, he picks up the serpent with no problem. It becomes a staff again. Fir'aun's like, what was that? And that's when the story starts to actually depict this moment that Fir'aun becomes a little bit confused. That what if he's right? What if all this, what he's saying is correct? And it's almost as if he mutters under himself, no, this is a magician. This is nothing but sahir. This is nothing but, him being somebody who is a majnoon. He's gone mad. But there's this moment now where history depicts that Musa had this moment that, and it's almost as if, the way that Al-Jazari now in his book, he describes is holding his head, looking down. And who is it that comes to him and shakes him? Is Haman. his right-hand man, his advisor, the waswasa of shaitan in his ear. He says, Fir'aun, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Are you showing a weakness right now? This is a slave of yours. This is an Israelite. You can't give this whole kingdom up to this slave. It's almost as if he says, Haman, did you see what this guy just did? That staff became a serpent. His hand was glowing. He says, shake it off, Fir'aun. Get up and shake it off. Right away at that moment now, they realized that, Fir'aun is losing control of the room. So what do? They send Musa and Harun out. Okay? Let's go. Go and come back. Go and come back. Okay? So they leave. And that initial talk is over. They leave the palace. Now Fir'aun is sitting there and he's still recuperating. He's still kind of, adjusting to what he saw. It's at that moment then he says that was nothing but magic, right? Yeah, nothing but magic. Everyone says, yeah, don't worry, nothing but magic. And then he decides to actually, he decides, you know what? I'm going to prove his magic to be nothing. And then he plots this day, this festival, this grand event in Egypt, right? That he would go out and invite 1,000 of the greatest magicians all over the area to come and show people that Musa has nothing on these magicians. In the process now, what's going to end up happening is, he's going to end up, basically proving that Musa is wrong. So that's exactly what happens, lo and behold. Okay? Now that we'll get to when? Tomorrow. Let's look at the verses today. Today, we look at Surah Shu'ara. Surah Shu'ara, not Shura, Shu'ara, okay? From Shi'r, meaning poetry. This is the 26th chapter of the Quran, and verses 18 to 33, okay? It depicts in the Quranic sense the conversation between Musa and Fir'aun. Okay, let's examine that. So please, if you guys, like I do every single night, ask you to please open up your Qurans, have it with you with your kids and your spouse together. Follow along with me. Surah Shu'ara, 26th chapter of the Quran now. Okay, another area where this is depicted, verses 18 all the way to 33. And this very important, crucial confrontation between Musa and Fir'aun for the first time in his palace now is depicted by the words of Allah. Let's see how Allah describes this monumental moment in Musa's history. This was difficult for Musa. Let's for a moment not downplay this idea, guys. You've been with me since day number one. You've seen how this prophet has developed. Right? You've seen what he's gone through. For him at that moment now to confront Fir'aun of all people, the same man that he fled out of fear of 10 years ago, to come back, that himmat, that courage comes from where? Comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I cannot stress it enough. To my parents out there who are sitting with their kids, do me a favor, every so often, turn to your kids and let them know that you can do it. You have the courage, you have the strength, you have the support, you have the himmat to do whatever you like. Just believe in yourself. Allah kept telling Harun and Musa, you guys can do it. You guys can do it. I believe in you. Don't ever lose sight of me. Don't forget remembering me. Innani ma'akuma. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. Just show a little bit of himmat, a little bit of strength, and he didn't. He didn't back down. When Fir'aun threw that heinous act in his face, saying, you're the same guy that killed that Egyptian and then took off? If it was me, out of shame, I would have left that place. He said, look, that was a different me. I didn't have the wisdom back then. I made a mistake, no doubt. But now I'm a different being, meaning what? That was when I wasn't a prophet. Now I'm a prophet. And my Lord has forgiven me already. I've already fixed that with my Lord. But this, the one thing that I really want to get across in tonight's discussion is this himmat, this strength, this courage of Musa. It's incredible, man. This is a guy who took off, who was constantly, it seemed like constantly in fear of Fir'aun, sneaking out when he was a child, going out and helping the Bani Israel tribes. But now, looking him in the eye and saying that, you know what, if you don't follow what I'm saying, you're going to be punished. You're going to lose all of this. That's when Fir'aun lost it. You have the gully. You're Musa, I gave you shelter. And he's right. He gave him shelter. He gave him an apparent upbringing. but not at the cost of dhulm and oppression against it, especially against its own mother. Anyways, 26th chapter of the Quran, verses 18 to 33. Let's examine these together, inshallah. Verse 18, this is where now Fir'aun throws it in his face. This ahsan that he did when he was a little bit younger, right? Right? قَالَ أَلَمْ نُرَبِّكَ فِينَا وَلِيدًا. Were we not the ones that brought you up as a child amongst us? Right? Did you not live with us? Were you not with us for many, many years? Is that not you? Did you forget all that? Now you're coming into my kingdom and saying this and that? Right? And is that not you, that you did that deed of yours? Right? فَعَلْتُ فَعَلَتَكَ إِلَيْتَ allati, that heinous crime, meaning the death of the Egyptian, right? And now you are somebody you are somebody وَأَنْتَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ, you're somebody who seems to be very ungrateful. You're doing kufran and ni'mat. If I were you, the fact that I didn't kill you and imprison you, I would thank my lucky stars and I would get out. Basically what he's saying is that you're really challenging and you're really kind of, you're walking the wrong boat here, buddy. Like, let's be careful. Okay? I should be throwing you in jail for that crime right now. And then he says, right? This is when now Musa says this. Allah here in verse number 20 is Musa. Musa says, I did it then while I was one of those who was unable to see the right course. I wasn't able to see the right from wrong back then. Yes, that was wrong for me. It wasn't a sin. It wasn't a sin. It was wrong for me. It was a mistake. I fixed it with my Lord, but that was a long time ago. I'm a different person now. He says, so I fled from you. Musa says to Fir'aun, I fled from you when I feared you. I thought for sure you capture me and put me in jail and kill me. I feared you. Then my Lord what? My Lord granted me. Rabbi hukman wa ja'alni min al-mursaleen, and made me one of the messengers. Made me one of the prophets. And then he said, and then Musa goes on his offensive to Fir'aun. He says, oh, you want to talk about, favors. Is that a favor? Look at verse number 22. Is it a favor of which you remind me that you have enslaved the children of Israel? Right? That you made them slaves, that you did all this with them. Basically the fact that I ended up at your palace because of what you did to my mother. And this command to kill all newborn, baby boys. And then Fir'aun says, what do you mean? قَالَ فِرْعَوْنُ وَمَا رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. What is this Rabb al-Alamin business? What is this idea of Lord of all the worlds? We believe in one sublime being of a creator, but these small little worlds and these small little day-to-day actions, we have lords already for that. What is this Lord of everything? And then Musa responds in verse number 24. He says, the Lord of the heavens and the earth and what is between them, if you would be sure. Right? This is made for those in kuntum muqinin, who have yaqeen and certainty. Then Fir'aun mockingly looks around him and says, are you hearing this? Like, قَالَ لِمَنْ حَوْلَهُ أَلَا تَسْتَمِعُونَ. Are you listening to this? Like this nonsense? Look at this guy. He's coming talking about some Lord of all the worlds. Like, this is not how things are run here. Like, we have our individual lords and I'm the top dog. I'm the top lord here, right? This idea that one Lord for everything. Right? And then he wouldn't get it. And still he went on and on and on, Musa. This is the Lord of the East and the Lord of the West. Lord of all the world. Lord who does everything. He guides you. He provides you. He forgives you. He does all these things. And then a very interesting Musa again continues, right? He ignores all this childish arguments from Fir'aun. Says, قَالُوا رَبُّكُمْ رَبُّ الْآبَائِكُمُ الْأَوَّلِينَ. He's your Lord and the Lord of your forefathers as well. It's not just your Lord. He's the Lord from the very beginning. Okay? And that's when, he resorts now to name calling Fir'aun. This is nothing new, by the way. You look at Abu Sufyan. You look at, for example, Abu Lahab confronting the Holy Prophet. There comes a time where the intellectual discussion stops and they resort to character assassination. Right? He's a majnoon. He's a sahir. He's gone mad. Right? He's a magician. Avoid him. He's going to make circles around you. Okay? Right? This is exactly what happens. He knows he's losing the arguments. He refers to the fact that most surely your messenger, in a very mocking way, who sent to you, is mad. The Arabic is what? He's what? Ilaykum la majnoon. He's mad. He's gone crazy. Look at him. But Musa does not let up. Look at the courage, look at the bravery, look at the istiqamat, the resistance. And I want to attach these verses to one more verse, inshallah, and then we'll end. I'm already at 25 minutes. I know these are short episodes and you want more. I know you want more. I want to give you more. But it's good to leave a little bit, as you guys say, cliffhanging. You come back tomorrow night, okay? We're not done yet. Hang with me. He says now, Musa says, the Lord of the East and of the West. قَالَ رَبُّ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ. And what is between them? If you understand. He keeps telling, if you understand. If you, in kuntum taqilun, in kuntum tuqanin. If you want to be certain, if you want to know, these are all things for you to understand. And then that's when Fir'aun gets really upset now. He goes, that's it, I've had enough now. I've had enough, right? قَالَ لَئِنْ اتَّخَذْتَ إِلَهًا غَيْرِي. If you take another God besides me, I will make you مِنَ الْمَسْجُونِينَ. I will make you amongst those who are a prisoner. I'll put you in jail. And you know my torture chambers, right? They're not easy. If you claim to believe in another God than me, then you're going to end up in jail. Verse number 30 of Surah Shu'ara. Now Musa says to him, okay, what if I was to bring something, show you something? Would you then believe? Now Musa knows that my words have reached its limit. Let me show him. He's got two things in his back pocket, right guys? The staff and the white hand from the moment in the mountain. He says, bring it. Bring it. Verse number 31, bring it, no problem. If you claim to be, right, in kuntum min as-sadiqin, if you claim to be truthful, bring it. Let's see what you got. And that's when he does what? He casts down the rod. And it becomes what? It becomes a serpent. And just like I said, just before he was about to get over the serpent and the staff, he pulls out his hand. Verse number 33, the last verse I want to share with you today. He pulls out his hand, and lo, it becomes white to all the onlookers. And Fir'aun is looking at it like he doesn't have a response to that. He has no idea, what to think. And that's when he kind of goes into this moment of reflection almost. This moment of softness, this moment of maybe he's right. And then Haman comes and whispers in his ear. See, he's not right. Get your act together, Fir'aun. You're Fir'aun. Remember that. He's a slave from the Bani Israel tribe. Right? You're going to lose all this if you give in to what he's doing right now. And that's when, they decide to let Harun and Musa leave for now. Let us kind of digest what you say. Just go now from now. And that's when they plot this day of festival, this big festival, where now they're going to show Musa exactly what they have in their back pocket. Go out and get all of these major magicians to bring Musa down. Let's see what happens in that festival. I want to share with you guys one verse. It's already 28 minutes into my speech. I'm very, very hassas and very sensitive about time, as you guys know. The verse that I want to add to these verses is from Surah Fussilat, verse number 41. 41 is the chapter, 30 is the verse. Allah says, قَالُوا إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون. For those who say that my Lord is Allah, they say La ilaha illallah. ठीक है? What the Zaman they saying? ثم استقاموا, and they stand where they are. They don't move, they don't bend, they don't apologize. They can expect what? تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. It's a beautiful, profound verse. I want all of my youth out there, all my young ones who are sitting right now with their bag of popcorn now, can't wait till tomorrow. I want you to listen for a moment. Put down your gadgets and give me your ears for about 2 minutes, right? Right now, there's 1,000 forces around you, pulling you towards them. Come live on this path. Come accept this. Come do this. This is norm. That's norm. That's norm. And you're asked to do what? Fight, resist, fight, resist, fight, resist. And this is what this verse is precisely talking about. If you claim that God is one, I know all of you believe in God is one, but you do what? You resist. You don't move from where you are. Fir'aun is throwing all sorts of these guilt trips at Musa. He doesn't move from where he is. تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. Believe in these words. They're not fairy tales. This is not Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. This is God sending you down angels with 3 pieces of news. Allah takhafu. Don't be afraid of anything. Don't be afraid. Musa looked him dead in the eye and said that if you don't do what I'm asking you to do, there will be punishment. وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا, don't grieve. He brought up his old heinous crimes. You're the kid that killed that Egyptian. He could have sat there and buried his face in his hands, crying. He says, no, you're right, that was me, but I was a different me. I'm different now, I have more wisdom. I wasn't who I am now back then. وَلَا تَحْزَنِي وَأَبْشِرُوا الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ. And take the bisharat of good news, the good news of Jannah that Allah has promised you. 3 things. Don't fear, don't grieve, and Jannah. But the shart and the condition is ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. Be the Musa of today in front of the Fir'aun of today. And stay firm in where you are. They'll throw 1,000 things at you, just like Fir'aun threw 1,000 things at Musa. But Musa didn't budge from where he was. In fact, the more they threw and the more he threw at Musa, the stronger Musa got, to the point where Fir'aun was like, okay, fine, you do this, I'm putting you in jail. Putting you in jail. That's what he referred to. And just when his words were enough to destroy him, he threw his miracle. He threw 2 miracles, which almost destroyed Fir'aun in front of his very advisors that serve him and that worship him just like their own gods. My brothers and my sisters, these are beautiful lessons for you and I. To rise up against today's Fir'aun, against these powers, not the powers of, I'm not talking about governments and politics, forget all that. The powers inside of you that pull you towards their life, that pull you towards this, that pull you towards that norm. Fight all that, resist all that. Be the Musa of today. Allah promises you the same way that I freed Musa from his clutches, I'll free your clutches as well. We'll see you tomorrow night, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.